aspect is we want to develop that athleticism, which is the ABCs, the agility, balance, and coordination. This is the first window for speed development or speed training. And the speed training, I'm not talking about in terms of how I work with my kids, my older kids, arm movement, particularly where their heel needs to land in terms of underneath their feet. We don't spend time on that. It's speed of just let them run. 5 seconds movement, go after it. Have fun with it. And the nice thing is, as already been mentioned, is this at this age group, you don't have to have a lot of rest. It's actually better off if you keep the kids moving, because if not, they're bored. They want constant movement all the time. So how to incorporate? I mean, there's many different ways, and I think this kind of goes into with the ADM and what you're going to see with the fit cards is. What we're encouraging is at least one time a week to add that in terms of your ice training as that practice. Anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes, station work incorporated, and you'll see this when we go over to the rink. We'll set up stations. I think we have 6 stations that we'll set up, and probably about 4 to 5 minute stations. And the idea is, as the individuals, as your group goes through it a couple times, they'll be in tune to it, so you can almost shorten those down and maybe make it through a couple times. Does that make sense? So that station work might include ladders to work on agility. It could include hopping. It might include bear crawls, which are always fun, a favorite head for kids, so that you can work on a little bit of upper body strength, a little bit of core strength, balance. And as I said, games must be fun. And I'll show a thing on Sharks and Minnows, and I put Fox and Hound. Anyone here ever heard of Fox and Hound? Okay. So Fox and Hound, it's kind of cool. Kids, we do with our soccer group, and every single time that we meet up once a week. It's a nice thing they do. It's called foot skills. So it's an hour and a half in duration. 30 minutes are with me. The other groups they're working on small game drills. They're also working on touches with the ball. But that 30 minutes when they're over with me, I do not spend any time with the 6 to 8 year olds on any particular warm-up. It's just getting them moving. And they always ask, once we started Fox and Hound, they always ask every time they come, can we do Fox and Hound? Can we do this? And then they always have these other games. But Fox and Hound, basically what it is, and I couldn't find a video on this, they put a penny in their shorts. And it has to be visible. Some of them will get kind of clever and creative. They want to hide it so you can see it. But you can set it up in a 10 by 10, 15 by 15 yard grid. And each one of them has that penny. And their goal is to try to get as many pennies from someone else as possible. So as you can imagine, as they're in this area, they're scurrying around, they're having fun. It's great. There's some kids that are falling on the ground, they get back up. Some of them will try to hang on to it so that no one can take it, and they're not supposed to. But they're pulling out as many as they can. So we may go for like a couple minutes, and then we'll stop. So what did you guys get out of that game of drill? Like, it was fun. You always hear it's fun. Well, what else? Well, and then they start to think. Fast, quick, movement, change of direction. How does this apply in terms of for soccer? Or how does that apply for any other sport? Just in terms of that spatial awareness. So we give them that opportunity to kind of think of their strategy, their plan, and then go back and try it. Some station works, and again, we'll go through a few of these things this afternoon. Give you some examples. There's scissor jacks up top, just working on coordination, balance. Two-handed tug of war, work on a little bit of a pull exercise. You can also do that where you're pushing. Work on push exercise, bear crawl, so you can work on a little bit of stability, upper body strength, core. And then expansion of reach gets into a little bit more specific to the sport a little bit. Talking about the bear crawls, we do that sometimes in relays. And so again, with those 6 to 8 year olds, we don't necessarily do a warm up, but we'll start off and we'll get them into groups of say 4 or 5 kids. And because we want to make it so it's competitive and that they're forming that bond and they figure out a little strategy, well, I'll have captains for that session. And I'll always say to them, all right, well, here's a mission. You're going to go back and tell your teammate, your team of 4, that on our first relay, we're going to do bear crawls. kind of cool thing is they work on listening skills. And then they'll go back and they have to work together with their team in terms of how they're going to do this the right way. So they explain it out, they get a couple minutes, and then they'll fight up and they go. So we'll do bear crawls, we'll do inchworms. Inchworms are always a fun one. It's not always perfect. I always have to remember it can't be perfect, but let them have fun with it. But we try to incorporate exercises and have different names for them. Frankenstein walks. You know, maybe coming up with a different name for galloping or baseball. Here's a competition drill, working on a little strength, upper body strength. It's a pull activity with competition. This is kind of cool. Bear? They've got some different YouTube videos that you can pull up with just different exercises that they do with kids. They do a lot of training with kids. Now this particular device they have is something they sell, but you can actually make it, you can just make it yourself. It's just in a nice wide band.
Ready, go!
Something like that. As they set up, you needed a little bit of space for that. Obviously, unfortunately, it was all boys. There's any girls with that, but you did the same thing with girls. But it's the idea is that they're setting up on set up a line, and they're just trying to work on pulling. They're using lower body strength. They're working on balance, that coordination, upper body strength to be able to pull them across that line. But it's competitive and it's fun, and you know you can reward. You can have set up point systems. Every time you pull them across the line, that's 1 point for you. Actually, one of the drills that we're going to go through over at the rink is that take that push and pull with the hands and doing the same exact idea in a small space. So again, I think the biggest thing out of those is just in terms of making it as competitive as possible. Another one. This goes back into our sharks and minnows, as I was mentioning. This is always a favorite staple. We're at camps during the summer with anywhere from 4-year-olds up until, let's see, we've had a few 17. Obviously, we do not put the 4-year-olds and 17-year-olds together. This is at a hockey camp trying land training. But we'll do sharks and minnows with them, and they absolutely love it. Capture the flag is another one. And again, all these things require a lot of space, but it gives you some different ideas that you can do that make it fun.
Take off. On your mark. Get set, go.
So a lot of tantalizing going on, a lot of talk, which happens actually with a lot of boys. But again, to go back to soccer, what we do with boys and girls, we'll set up, and it's great at that age because they're all the same developmental in terms of strength and balance. So we'll set up in relays, and the girls want to set up in their own teams. It's great. So when they win, they're like, aha, we just schooled you. But it's nice because at that point in time, they're just like, there's no care in the world. They don't care. They feel very confident in terms of what they're able to do and what they're able to accomplish. So we'll sometimes do as simple as this in terms of working on speed, work on different levels. We'll set them up in 10-yard areas and we'll work in pairs. And we'll start them from their bellies. One person's up front, second person's from behind. And on the first whistle, the person that's up in front needs to get as quick as they can. And they need to make it to the 10-minute on time. That second person from behind, I'll go on 2 whistles. As soon as they hear that second whistle, they need to get up as quick as they can. And their goal is to take the person in front of them. They love it. They don't think of anything in terms of, this is hard work. But with my kids, if I didn't do that, they think it's hard work. So we even incorporate it with our older kids. They love it. We'll do things where they're rolling. They may do a somersault, and then they get up and they have to sprint. Log rolls, the log roll. They actually love the log rolls. They log roll, and then they got to pick up. So again, that takes up a little bit more space, but if you have that opportunity, it just creates a lot more fun and competition. So, when setting it up in terms of progression and variation, as I mentioned before, progression-wise, it's good to keep things, I think, consistent for a period of time, because muscle memory becomes very important in terms of it's going to take 3 or 4 sessions before they figure out how to perform that particular exercise. Once that happens, if you continue to do the same exercise over and over and over again, it's going to get what? Boring. It gets stale. I know for me, if I do the same exercises over again, I get bored. So you can just imagine with young kids, if you don't keep them moving, as I mentioned before, all the time, they're going to get bored. The same thing with the variety and variation. Progression, you need to add repetitions before adding any variation and or changing any exercise. So if you're starting out at 6 repetitions of a particular exercise, we'll just say with just a squat, and they're doing 6 squats, before you change it up to make it a little bit more challenging, add a few more reps to it. So then as a guideline, exercise change would be every 3 to 4 sessions. And again, the fit text that you will be getting, I believe, have a couple phases with it, so that you will have that progression and you can utilize that right up through to as well. Variation toolbox. I put that in there in terms of what is in your toolbox. It's always nice, and obviously it depends upon what your budget is. But sometimes you can be creative in terms of ladders. Ladders sometimes cost, I can get ladders from some companies that are $30. They may cost all the way up to $100. Well, even if you just take tape and put it on the floor, that's going to work out very cheap. Maybe it's even, if you don't have the budget for them, show reaction ball drills in a little bit here, those are always fun. Just take and use tennis balls. Okay, so again, you don't have to really purchase them. Find from a local area, from a rec program, whatever, you might be able to get some tennis balls.